What's up, y'all? It's Warren Hampton.
And Roicia Hampton.
Today's episode 2. We're talking about self-love.
Yes, so get ready for episode 2.
Not for real.
For real?
Not real. This is Warren Hampton.
What's up, y'all? It's Warren Hampton. We are back, and we had such a great episode for our comeback and for our new viewers. We are so welcome for you to be with us and sit on the couch with us. And who are you, lovely lady next to me?
Your wife.
And your name is?
My name is Roicia.
I mean, they got to know you last episode, but, you know, put the Hampton on that last name.
Bam.
Hampton.
No, well, you said it different last
I know. WarrenHampton.
It was better.
I know. It's all right. Anyway, so that's just go on our Instagram. You can see all the stuff we do, our tomfoolery. But we're back talking about love again, and there we are. So we're back talking about love again and our continuing love story. But I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about me too. I know I said I was Warren Hampton. We had this podcast and all that, but I am a theologian, a master theologian. I've been to seminary, pastored for 12 years, been in ministry 25 years. I love the word of God. I know Yeshua is my personal Lord and Savior. And I want everybody to be blessed by a relationship with the God of the universe. Like, how awesome is it that he can adopt us into his family with his unconditional love, and his disciples are supposed to show that same love. So I am a believer in all that, in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we just want to glorify God through this podcast. So listen, if you want to elevate your life, if you want to ascend to higher levels, look, we believe in a whole bunch of stuff that encompasses God. Some people, you know, can think whatever, but we're here to sacrifice religious cows. So if you're religious, this might not be the podcast for you. We'll just make that real clear. We may cuss a little bit. Don't know. We may do a lot of other things, but all we're going to do is help change the trajectory of your life. That's what Not For Real is all about. For the high vibrational people who want to change things in their life. If you want to change your life, you got to change your life. You can't wait for somebody else to do it. So
That's right.
I'm also the CEO of Warren Hampton, a Black-owned luxury lifestyle brand. Go to IamWarrenHampton.com. We are sporting some of our stuff right now, inspired by our wedding day, 11/11/2023. Wifey looks good in her. This was her idea. So instead of buying her a luxury bag, I just made her a luxury brand. So with the handbags, you see the stuff behind us and all that stuff. So go check us out. But we love what we do. We're both entrepreneurs. We're both leaders. And we had an awesome wedding.
Man.
On 11/11.
We literally can't stop talking about it like every single day. Well, we can't stop talking about it because they can't stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I was even on a Zoom call today at work, and they was talking about it.
Everybody wants to chime in and talk about it.
It was a beautiful, miraculous wedding.
It was the perfect wedding. It was.
God blessed us.
I can't even explain the love and the wholeness and the peace and the joy.
Gratitude.
It was literally perfect. Like everything I ever envisioned in my mind for how our wedding, a wedding that I dreamed about just experiencing, God blessed me with you. He blessed me with you. He blessed me with all of the people who surround you too. Like you have a really good tribe. And really when it comes to, you know, us talking about love and all those things, like it takes a lot of healthy people around you that know what love really is. And so Heavy D said, now that we find love, what are we going to do? Will Smith and them were dancing to it at the end of Hitch. But a lot of people have found love and really don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people think they have found love. Right.
Because the COVID taught us what? Y'all, we with each other all day long. You gonna find out if you like each other or not.
And you can find out real fast if you love somebody, like somebody, or really don't want to be around this person anymore. Like, some people are in toleration and they're not in love, and they're in obligation. And I think, when it comes to love, there's always a framework that many people have, but I like our framework being around the Bible. And so we're not ashamed of our faith. We're not ashamed to talk about God, because if you don't think anyone else exists outside of this time and space, I'm sorry. There's just so much to learn from him, because he is love. God is love. And we need to know what love is from the framework of that. So our love story on 11/11, everything was intentional. And I think that everyone that came did see our intentionality.
Oh, yeah. It was in every little thing.
And love is intentional. And we talked about that the last episode. Like, you didn't intend on meeting me. I didn't intend on meeting you. Yeah. But God intended for our stories to cross and our threads to cross. And there were so many godly relationships that were tethered around us that it almost was inevitable. It was inevitable for us to meet.
And the relationships were at least a decade long.
For
me.
Yeah.
With our threads. So it's not like, oh, I have this friend I met last year that knew you. Yeah. It was like, no, I didn't know any of y'all. These people came into my life at 17 years old or what have you. And we were just orbiting with each other. So came in the right time. It's all about God's perfect timing.
And I do want to pick up on some of our love story, because when I met you and I was like looking at your Instagram, I was like, dang, I ain't seen this chick. Whew, oh my God. And then first time I met you, I didn't see you for months later. Yeah. And then I was just like, I was like Michael Jackson and Teddy Riley. I can't let her get away. Like, I was like, I don't know. God unlocked some superpowers when I met you, because my supernatural abilities went to a whole nother level. You know, that's why some people believe, like, when you meet the person you're supposed to really be with, and there's like a instant connection. Yeah. And it was an instant energetic connection, especially the second time we met, because it was like, because when I got the email or the DM from the mutual acquaintance, he put it back in the DMs, put us in a group chat, and I said, oh, you the girl with the high bun and the black dress, or the bun and the black dress. And I said, oh, God, thank you.
I'm over here all super focused on my mission and work.
And I was like, I'm super focused on a real wife, a helpmate. And I God, help me. I know you blessed me. I know she crossed my path for a reason. And I'm willing to take the risk for love. And I remember seeing being intentional. Let's talk about that, and picking back up on your trauma at work. Being intentional. When I saw your Facebook picture after we reconnected, I said, oh, she's so mad. Ugh, I said, these Negroes done hurt her.
Disappointed.
And I just said, I just want to love her and be consistent.
Yeah, I feel like I gave you a hard time, actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
Really?
So it's just a lot of doubt. I feel like constant doubt. Like,
well, yeah, there was reason to have doubt. Sure. Like, you had a lot of doubt in your past relationship experience. So I had a lot of doubt. You know, who knew, like, the intentionality of God, like in the timeline of God and the alignment of God. And when it comes to real love, like me and my brother Jerry were talking about, even our wedding, it was a celebration of love. So much love. And if you can't celebrate love, like, come on, you got to be a hater. You got to be a hateful person. So we don't focus on that. We focus on love. And that love has been continuing. And like, I thought I loved you.
It's undeniable as well. Like, you people who get in our presence.
It's undeniable.
For real. Yeah. People who get in our presence, like, they're like, oh my God, like, okay, y'all too. Or dang, they the same, or they gonna be going and crying together, or it's like we're just the same, but different. Like you're.
When I see you, I see myself. Adam and Eve. He said, "Whoa, man." I said, "Whoa." When I saw you, I said, "Oh Lord."
He said, "Oh my."
No, but it was just something about you. You know, you are a light to a dark world, and
thank you, babe.
I am a lover of God and lover of others, and I just wanted to love you intentionally. And I remember you kept looking at me and just be like, "What is it about you?" And I was just like, "I'm spiritual, girl. I'm spiritual."
How do I know that wasn't game?
It wasn't game. Like, you can't run game with Jesus. I know dudes who do that. And,
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Cause I got a friend.
But it was really, I was asking myself, like, you're just different.
Yes.
Well, and I guess for context, so I was experiencing F-boy culture before we knew
it was
what
thing.
It was,
right.
And what it was a thing. Yeah. So I had been dating and experiencing the same person in different men, and that caused me to like look at myself, like, okay, one of these things, you know, like it must be me. Like, let me work on myself, because the same cycles I'm seeing, or the same I feel like each situation or relationship or person or dating, whatever, I tried to take something to work on myself better.
Yes.
So by the time I got to a place where I was like, I don't work on myself enough, like what is going on? I was already done. So when you say that I was looking mad or whatever, like I think, I mean, I was, because it's like, I know what I bring to the table, you know?
Right. And I was in a toxic, abusive marriage, narcissistic, abusive marriage. Very chaotic physical abuse. Nobody really believes men that go through that. And then we see Kanye going through it, and we see Tyrese going through it. And like you say all the time, you literally went through this same thing, but they're just in the public and in a bigger stage and platform that it's magnetized for them, but it's the same experience and the same struggles with children, not having relationships. So it's been a hard road to love, to be consistent through that, because some people cannot be. And another reason I want to say really to our audience is that, you know, I see a lot of men of God and Christian podcasts and all that talk about sex, talk about marriage, talk about all these other things, and never have their wives on their podcasts. And to me, that's a problem. You can't be talking about relationships. You can't be talking about all of it. And we never see the relationship that you're in, because then it seems like you're running game, and it seems like there's a hustle. And we saw that with Derek Jackson and his wife. And, you know, we ain't religious like that or nothing like that. We understand that when two become one, like there's power when two are together, and unless they agree, and we agree on all of the moves that we've made, we've agreed on those things. And marriage is not just about who you love, but who you can build with. And, you know, once I really, really got to know you and just who you were, I was like, oh, I could build with her. and, you know, of course I had to grieve and go through my pain and heal and all those things. But it was important for me and us to have you on. Even when we were talking about relaunching the podcast, it's like I didn't want to do guests. This is an open door, open window, if you will, to open couch to y'all seeing what we do on a daily basis. Like, this is my best friend. Like, don't play about this one. I go to hell and back for you again, because you are worth it. And I remember when I met you, I was just like, you are enough. And I didn't know the whole story. I just saw the greatness and the purity in you. And I saw it takes a real man of God to pull that out and to cultivate that and to protect you and make you feel safe. And I value your voice, and I value your leadership, and I value the equal submission that God said that we should have for one another. And I want that to be exemplified for people, because it's the most manly thing to support your woman and and share a platform with her and not be in competition. The Bible says that Adam and Eve were comparable to one another. They were not competitive with one another. And, you know, most of our needs are very general needs. And all we have to do is just listen to each other.
Yeah, you won't have to like want to care. I don't want to go back to the submission piece, because this is a theme that I see a lot with women, especially women my age, that not wanting to submit, or this idea of submission. Yeah. And for me, in these past experiences that I had, it felt like I was the smartest person in the room. I was the smartest in the relationship. I was critically thinking. I was thinking for both of us. I was like, yo, can I get a break? Can you plan something one time? Right. Can you, so for me, the idea of submission under those men were not, it's not a good idea. It would lead me into a burning house. And I'm like, we're not doing that. It's burning, So when I met you, it was a breath of fresh air, because the leader in you naturally, and of course the decisions that you made with experience or with an understanding and information, I come to the same conclusion. Yeah. So it's like, okay, I can easily submit and follow your leadership, because that is the same plan that I would have came up on my own. Right. So it's just, I would do that anyway and submit, right? But there are moments where I feel like I am a little bit more educated on that. You allow me to lead us in whatever area that is. Absolutely. So, like my weaknesses are your strength, or where I don't know something, you come in stronger. And what's wrong with letting you not letting you, but following your lead? What's wrong with you understanding? Like, I've taught you the things spiritually. You taught me things about mentally, like, and that's what I want to get to. Before we can get to what love really is, we have to ask ourselves if we do know what love is. And before that, before we even start defining that, do we love ourselves? And just think about that for a minute. Do we love ourselves? And also, you said you did the work. Like, you knew it wasn't you. You knew what you brought to the table. Same with me. I was in therapy. We went to therapy over and over and counseling. It was just, I started applying, outgrew people, stuff gets worse. And you're like, God, this cannot be your will. I already knew I stepped out of God's will. Let's just say that. I knew that going in. But trying to fix it through religious rules and facades is where I missed the mark. And a lot of people are missing the mark in their marriages and their relationships because they're not doing the work. So they allow this facade and this image when you're not really loving yourself on the inside if you want to live a facade. I was going to say, maybe in what you just shared, paint a picture, because I feel like a lot of times people can't associate like what you're talking about with real life. Yes. So what does that mean for you? Yeah. That means remaining in I don't want to put words in your mouth, but remaining in a marriage. Remaining in a toxic marriage just so that, it could appear like I'm a pastor and I have it all together and I'm bleeding and screaming for help year one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And covering that and keeping things a secret and not really having the shame and not being able to talk about that. But you have to die to those images. And the Bible says, if you want to keep that life, you want to keep a life or keep a life that people think you have, you will lose it. Mm-hmm. And so I lost it. And I was glad I did, because it wasn't what was most fruitful in my life. And like, if you were to stay in one of your relationships, it wouldn't have been what was most fruitful. You would have just settled, and you would have. I wouldn't have settled. Yeah, and that's why I love myself, and that's exactly the difference. And yes, talk about it. Yeah, sorry. You're good. But no, I wouldn't have. And so, like, I think I told you how those light bulb moments are just happening constantly, and really suffering through cognitive dissonance on knowing one thing, feeling one thing, and doing another, and allowing yourself. So, was I compromising my self-love? Absolutely. But I ultimately chose me. Yep. But it's in those moments where I feel people get themselves tore up, because it's like, well, you made a major decision in a moment that you should have chose to love yourself and you didn't. And like, these are the consequences of that decision.
Yes.
Now you just have to work through them.
Yes.
So I know that's like more so your situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was, so the other piece too, which back then mental health wasn't even a conversation.
I knew you were going to go there. Yes.
Yeah. So I went to grad school when I was 21. And so the Master of Social Work, first of all, shout out to anybody who gets an MSW. Yeah. It's not a regular master degree. Yeah. Like, it's intense. Part of what I was able to do is read through the things that I had experienced. And I was able to process, wow, okay, abuse, okay, trauma, PTSD, it shows up in all of these areas. Wow, child sexual abuse, these are some symptoms and things that happen, or these are some characteristics even. And and even, not even just that, but like trying to understand the generational and historical trauma of being indigenous. Like, there are things that I grew up experiencing that I knew were not normal, but were normalized in my community and my village. And it's like, so W.E.B. Du Bois says, like, we have a dual consciousness or double consciousness. And for me, I've always felt like I've had three. Yeah. So being African American, being indigenous, and then of course corporate America or whatever. So in high school, you're going from one community, going to the res, and then coming back, and it's like, okay, you're switching over. And then once I graduated that, like, you still have ties to your community in the reservation, and then they want you to be. So at 22, 23, 24, I'm like, going through all of these things, right? And understanding, like, wow, this is how historical trauma has showed up in our family members. I'm starting to associate different personality disorders, and I'm like doing the work, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, so what's with me, you know? And so that led to therapy. That led to me with years working on me and peeling back those layers with what I survived through, the things and experiences that I had. So by the time that I had met you, like, I was full blown knowing who, and really the other piece is my identity. So being Afro-Indigenous, solid knowing my Native American side. Yes. And then in college, I was able to learn more about my African American side. So then that's when I went to Ghana and I just delved deeper into what it means, you know, to be African, part of the African diaspora. Of course. And so by the time that I come to you, I am fully in love with myself, know who I am, very educated, traveled the world, secure.
Emotionally intelligent, accountable with your finances, brilliant.
Excellent credit
greatness
scores,
hours,
on top of the world.
Had your own car.
Had my own place. Yeah, living my life, teeth, career.
Beautiful smile.
On hair. I had my own teeth?
Yeah. Teeth,
Lord.
hair, all that.
Yes.
The goodness.
Yeah, and the things I'm just, you know. So yeah, that part, yes, self-love. I'm in it. Yeah. And then I meet you. Yeah. And I was already starting that process too. So I had struggled with my weight for years, up and down. And then I got that new job. I was finally making decent money when I met you, before I met you, I got that job. Then I had a trainer, I was working out, I had lost 50 pounds. I was in the best shape of my life. I wouldn't say I looked the best. I was really skinny. I didn't expect to lose that much weight. I was kind of scared, but when you're working out, trying to relieve stress for 3 and 4 hours in the park with a 6'3" black man named Shango, you're going to work out your stress. So, I got his foot size is like this big.
Oh, man, he scared me into working out. Like, he would just walk in, I'm like, okay, and he was so big. And but anyway, it was that I got my money, I got out of debt, I was in therapy, and it was just like, okay, or I was going back into therapy. I don't think I was in at the time, but I had started, and then I went back shortly after I divorced her. And so I never had a chance to really grieve my parents' divorce. I never had a chance to grieve, and that was really my only childhood trauma. But it was just like, I just kept going. No one told us stop, rest, grieve. It's okay to grieve. What are your feelings? What are your feelings? Why are you angry? Who hurt you? What happened to you? So you really helped me really, like, I don't want to use the right word. fortified the process of healing me mentally, because no one ever listened to me and listened to my emotions. And so that's why we're friends. Oh, it's okay. And I was, unlike most men, I was expressive, and I would be expressing myself and crying. And I'm like, I know I'm not crazy. Like, why doesn't anybody want to hear me? Like, I'm being victimized. Like, I'm being abused. My energy is being siphoned. Oh my God. Fine. I'll just run for office. I'll just pastor. I'll just be a hospice chaplain. I'll just run a business. And I just dove myself into work. And then soon as all that stuff was done, I had to sit with myself, and all those cards went crashing. And I'm like, wow, all the love that I used to give everyone, I never gave to myself. Yeah. And so I want to pick back up on that when we come back for the next episode, because that was really my now for real moment where I was like, yes, I have you. Yes, I have loved so many people.
Who also left you? Who also left you?
Who also left me and treated me like I was no good, and I gave people grace, and I was like, damn, like I don't love me. Like I loved my kids unconditionally, and I never really gave myself that love. And so honestly, the reciprocity I didn't have in a relationship, my former marriage, but it was, I don't even want to call it a marriage, because it was not. It just really was not a marriage, but we had an agreement almost, because I had a child at a wedlock, had to get married, stood in front of the church, all that pressure. And it,
well, you felt like you had to get married.
Well, I felt that, and I made the choice, and I covered all that, and that was on me, but I was a young man of God, and I wanted to do it right. And be a man and step up and be responsible. But, if I had to do it all over again, kids are not ready to have kids and, or get married when you don't know yourself. When you don't know yourself and when you don't love yourself, that is a recipe for toxic relationships. And I believe that's the reason why so many people are in toxic relationships, because they don't love themselves. They don't know themselves. No. Let's not even talk about knowing God.
And I was gonna say, people say that a lot. Don't know yourself, but you don't really get to flesh out what that means. Yeah. Like, know yourself, like knowing what your triggers and traumas are, knowing. I mean, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, no, we'll just finish it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cliche things people say to like spit out to be or sound whatever, right? Yes. So I want us to be like clear with not knowing yourself. What does that mean? Because people don't have those tools. It means, what are the things that you've experienced in your life to cause you to behave in such a manner that is either acceptable or whatever, right? So most of us, you have like a 0 out of 10 ACE score.
Yeah, probably
adverse childhood experience.
Well, I mean, I had a few, but it wasn't that bad.
You have a 0.
I did mine. It was not like a 0. I think it was like a 2. Like,
no way, you were 18 before anything. It has to happen before you're 18.
Oh, my dad punched me in the chest. Knocked me out the window. That wasn't an ACE score.
I wouldn't call that physical abuse. I just wouldn't.
I mean, it was discipline. It was hard.
I was gonna say, you probably was talking crazy. Seeing that it was one encounter. If you can be like that one time, that ain't. I'm not trying to minimize your pain.
No.
But for real.
But you did.
So mine is a 7 out of 10. Yeah. So I should be like on the street.
Yeah, and and the thing about, that's what amazes me about you, because there had to be a deeper well that you pulled from. And whether education opened up your mind, that's fine. Because education, when I was at ASU, family communication made me understand my family dynamics, why they were crazy and why we kept putting on a facade. And I was like, oh, we can't come to a common ground because y'all never dealt with your background. Yeah. It wasn't listed as childhood trauma back then. Right. And I didn't know what cognitive dissonance was, but I was going through cognitive dissonance for probably the last
whole life.
20 years. Cause I was like, what the is going on in this mother? Right, you know what I'm saying? And
well, I don't think they knew that there was psychological effects or impacts like to come of that.
So here's where I want to pick up and kind of bring back for next episode. when I went to seminary and we studied the early church and how psychology was a part of the early church. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be a psychologist at first. But when I studied that, I'm like, this is what the church is missing. Yeah. And I'm an advocate of Jesus and therapy because you don't lose faith by going to a therapist. You don't lose faith by going to a mechanic. When your car, the carburetor falls out, I don't think you over there praying and asking God to put it in there. When your tooth falls out.
Your toothache. Like,
when you got a bump on your head, come on. Like there's so many essential oils and herbs you can take before you break your arm, you better go to the hospital.
I mean, what the thing though is really the stigma and shame associated with mental health, medical field, really across the board. So it's that too, like, yes, you guys, like, you need actual professional help. Yeah. But then also, yes, there's a spiritual component that we don't want to just scratch off either.
And church people are crazy.
I'm learning.
On that note, we will see y'all next episode. It's not for real. Y'all don't.